Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about why you should always design your client apps before you code them. When we first started doing projects for clients, we would always save the design until the end. So, we'd sit down with a prospect, we would talk about their application, they'd sign it off, they'd make the first payment, and then we'd go. Then either I'd code it or one of my developers would code it, and we would do all the functionality. We'll release some beta builds, and they would check it over, and everything was fine, and that just seemed to go. It just seemed to flow, right? And we would do design at the end. And one of the things that I found was that we went over budget on a lot of projects, or our internal budget, because of design. And most of the scope creep, in my experience, has been design related. So to give you an example, when we actually go time to release it, it'll be like, ooh, can we move this over here? Can we do this over here? I don't know if I like that font for that button. I don't know if this is going to be confusing for the user. Can we add an animation at the beginning? Can we add some onboarding? That kind of stuff. And it really, to give you an example, I remember having an argument with one of my clients. He was saying, I don't why isn't this app going live? When could we when could we release this app? And I said, hey, we're ready to release now. Are you ready to go live? He goes, well, I'm not sure if it looks professional enough. And I go, sorry, what do you mean it doesn't look professional enough? He goes, well, it just needs to look more professional. How long is that going to take? And I said, well, can you tell me exactly what you want? Because that didn't really mean anything to me. He goes, it just needs to look more professional. And I said, well, so how long is it going to take? And I said, well, it's going to, I don't know. It could take a day, it could take a month, could take a year. And he goes, I'm running a business here. That's just not good enough. And I said, well, it needs to look more professional is not good enough. Could we go through each screen and go through each one? And you know what? This is the only time it ever got heated with a client where we had this conversation. I've had other conversations with clients where it was like, for games and stuff, was like, the character is too cute, whatever. So design by its very nature is very iterative. You never know exactly what they want, and a lot of times they can't tell you. And as a software developer myself who thinks in terms of code, it's difficult for me to do that too. So what we do now is we try to get design signed off early on in the project. So like we use wireframing tools. I used to always use Balsamic. Lately we've been moving over to Adobe XD, the Experience Designer, which is which I really like because we can collaborate on it in the team. We used Proto.io in the past, but I found that to be too expensive just on a monthly basis. I think for what it does, I found it to be a bit expensive for my liking. So we use Amazon XD. So now what we try to do is get the design, like just sort of build out some prototypes, get either prototypes or just JPEG or PNG images. Just say, okay, when you click on here, you go here, you go here, go here, and that should hold off development. So development doesn't progress until we get that signed off. Now, if we have like back-end processing or something like that, then that's fine. We can start working on admin screens or the back end and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I found life got a lot easier when nothing moves forward until we get design signed off earlier. Because and this is my theory here, just based on the vibe I got from people in the past, was a lot of times when it comes time just to go live, right, there's this sort of stage fright. This kind of, it has to be perfect before it goes live, right? And I try to say, look, we need it to go live because we don't know anything about the application. We don't know how well it's going to do. We don't know how the users are going to accept it. We can make guesses, but we at this point we should not be going in and asking friends, what do you think of this? Oh, my friend Dave said we need to add this in, all that kind of stuff. Right, at that point we need to just go live and see what it does, and then we could go back and adjust it, right? But because it's this stage fright, it's almost like I'm not good enough. Like if you were going to go, like let's say you were going to go on a big date or something, and you're just you're really nervous, and you keep checking yourself in the mirror and say, actually, let me go comb my hair again, or let me go change my shirt, that kind of stuff. That's what happens in terms of design, because it's seen as a low priority thing. And I know that other developers will say, we'll give you 5 changes to design and that's it, or we'll give you 3 options, you have to choose one. But for me, I want them to really like the application, and in order for them to really like the application, they need to agree on design up front. And anyway, it's just something that I found. For those of you who are working with clients, I think getting design out of the way early then it also makes it a lot more apparent what's a change. So if they ask for a change, you say, hey, design's already been nailed down. And this is not the most easy, especially not easy with games, but that means that your designer who works on the design, like our designer Sandy does it, has to understand the interface elements of the app, so the coders don't get there and say, oh, we can't do this, we can't do a round button that spins around and flips off and pings off the sides of the walls, or whatever. The designer has to understand UI elements, and the developers have to be able to do that, and it's kind of marrying them up together. So it's a delicate balance, but somehow, you know, we seem to muddle through. So anyway, I hope that helps. Let me know if you guys had any trouble with design. For me, just being a technical person, dealing with design, I mean, I know what I like, but you know, when you work with other people, it gets a lot more difficult. And you know, I could tell some horror stories when it comes to designing projects and the design phase. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, if you had any trouble with this kind of stuff. And anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.